What's up, guys? I promised you that we would go through the new class changes from the Corpse and the Hound update, so that's what I'm here to deliver. So I need to give a special shout out to Who. For those of you who are in my channel, you know who Who is. He's one of my mods, and he's actually started streaming a little bit. He is very much into theory crafting, and he'll be helping me with a lot of my content. You guys who have seen the guide that we made on the Excel or Google Doc spreadsheet, Who is a huge part of that. He's helped me quite a bit with that, and he's helped a lot compiling this list of changes for me. So what we're going to go over is not too much detail, as this is really just an overview. We're going to get into the details later on. We're really just going to skim through the patch notes and give you a little explanation on what's been changed, kind of like an overview. So we're going to start off with some of the guaranteed skills that have changed. So to give you an explanation, guaranteed skills are like the starting skills that your class is guaranteed to start with. So, talk about the Grave Robber a little bit. So, Grave Robber, they have one guaranteed starting skill as a Corpse and the Hound, which is Poison Dart on the Grave Robber. You can see a little bit of bug there that needs some polish with the Blight Resist, but looking at that, Poison Darts has been the new guaranteed skill that they have, which, and there's been a bunch of changes, but that's what they're going to start with. Previously, it was Thrown Dagger. Now it's Poison Darts. For the Vestal, you guys are very familiar with the Vestal, I'm sure. She now starts with Divine Grace. There's not been any changes to the ability itself, but as you all know, that's the one that's really required to, heal, especially beginning of the game. If you pulled somebody off the stagecoach without Divine Grace, you'd probably be in trouble. And if we look at Plague Doctor, the Plague Doctor now starts with Plague Grenade. It's had some of its numbers changed around and adjusted to bring it more in line with Poison Dart. So those are the guaranteed skills that have been changed. So if we look away from guaranteed skills and we get it into the classes themselves, we'll look at the Bounty Hunter first. So Bounty Hunter, not a ton has changed, but he's had the addition of what's called Man Killer to his collect bounty ability. So if you look at the bottom, it's currently it's plus 15 damage versus a human. So that's pretty good. That's a pretty good tweak to him, and he was already pretty strong, so that's a nice buff. Because a lot of the bosses, you think Necromancer, probably the Hag, the Prophet, have human. They're a human type of mob, so that's going to be a nice change for that. It makes him even more beneficial on boss fights. If we look at the Crusader next, the Crusader has a change to Bulwark. So if we look at Bulwark of Faith, it makes him slightly more tanky, as that ability, when he marks himself, makes the monsters more likely to target him. I don't know the exact number behind that. We'll be doing some testing. I don't know if we could truly give you a concrete number, but it does give him more of a chance to take some damage, making him a more effective tank, especially with the monsters at higher levels where they're technically smarter, quote unquote. Additional changes to the Crusader: all abilities that restore light have been buffed. So if we look at his torch, which is Bulwark, that's been buffed slightly. Really, that's it for the Crusader. So let's go back to the Grave Robber and look at some of her changes. So alongside Poison Dart changes that we've already talked about, she's been given a speed buff to Toxin Trickery, which is Toxin Trickery is right here, to give you guys an overview of that. And she's had a change in her camping skills, which I feel is one of the stronger buffs that's come out this patch, which gets rid of Forage, which was awful, and replaced with Snuffbox. So if she has a disease on herself, she can pick whichever one she wants to get rid of. Not as strong as the Plague Doctor's ability to use the Cure to remove a target disease off a companion, which gives you, more flexibility to use it, but still a huge improvement over Forage. So next we'll look at the Hellion. If we look at the Hellion, not a lot of changes here. She really didn't need a lot of changes, but the Adrenaline ability got a small heal to really help them get off death's door. And that's really it. Hellion really didn't get a lot of touch-up. From there, we'll look at the Highwaymen. And looking at the Highwaymen, Take Aim is now known as Tracking Shot. So Tracking Shot does a little bit of damage, and then it also gives you a buff. So Take Aim becoming Tracking Shot is really a buff. and it's a buff because take aim was pretty situational, but this allows you to finish off a mob if you don't want to use the AoE of Grape Shot and still give yourself a buff. So in certain boss fights, this becomes very beneficial. Think in like Necromancer, where you may have a mob in front of you and you're going to kill that mob. It's got really low health, but are you going to waste a Grape Shot on the boss? Probably not. This would be a good situation to use that. So that's when you use Tracking Shot. Looking at the Jester, there's probably the most changes have come with Jester. So previously, Jester, I feel, was underutilized. I'm not going to get into that right now, but you guys can watch the other videos, and I talk about Battle Ballad's underrated. I think it needs to be used more. But with this patch, it's actually changed it, become a more offensive class, which needed to happen so that the masses would use it more. So here's an overview. Heroic End is now called Finale. So Finale's had its damage and crit increased, as well as it pushes the Jester back 3 ranks. So if you're in the front row, whether you've Dirk stabbed to get to the front row, or what have you, maybe you just moved into the front row, you can pop Finale, and it'll move him back 3 ranks. Inspiring Tune, seen here, is now only a single target ability, but you can see the stress heal's been adjusted. The solo is usable in any rank, so we'll find solo right here. It's usable in any rank, which is a buff, and it can pull the Jester forward 3 ranks. So I'll kind of go through the cadence in a second. All abilities with bleeds on them have had their bleeds buffed, and we've already talked about changes to dots and how important those are now with the addition of corpses. So Jester's really had a huge buff. So really the script would probably be Battle Ballad. You would pop solo, then Finale, or you could pop Battle Ballad. You could do Dirk Stab, then solo, then Finale. I need to play with it more to give you guys an idea, but that's kind of a basic concept of how it would work. So nice buffs to the Jester. He needed it. It very much underutilized class, so that's definitely a win from the devs. Let's go to the Leper. So Leper, one of the more polarizing classes in the game. If we look at the changes to him, Focus has been combined with Revenge, and really that's just for ease of use. And what that's allowed it to do is really change the combat skills in general. So Purge now has a low damage knockback mechanic, which will be used to clear all the corpses right here. So that would clear all the corpses from the battlefield, which we've already talked about how helpful that can be. And the stress heal has been increased on Withstand. So if we take a look at Withstand, stress heal's been increased there. And their heal has been buffed considerably to make them a stronger meat shield. So if we look at, you can see the resist, obviously that's bug, but the heal's been increased, and then you can see the buff that comes along with it now. So then we'll go to, we're going to go and talk a little bit about the Man-at-Arms. So talking about the Man-at-Arms, Retribution's been nerfed, which we all know needed to happen. I hope you enjoyed the ride while you exploited that, because I did. It's had its damage and crit, and the nerfs really to the repost mechanics we all know it needed to happen. So that's been done. That's really all that's been done, and the devs have already addressed in the patch notes that they're going to do more to tweak that. We'll talk about the Occultist next, and looking at that, it's had its curse and debuff skills increase their accuracy, but the damage lowers. Also, their pool, seen here, that's going to clear all the corpses, similar to what we just looked at with the Leper. So, the last change is very minute, and it's just Hands of the Abyss can stun the third row. That's it. So here's another major change, and that's with the Plague Doctor. So we talked about what their guaranteed starting skill is now, but Plague Grenade and Noxious Blast, seen here, those have had their base chance increased and higher blight damage, and that falls in line really with the prot reworks that have been done. Disoriented Blast, seen here, clears corpses. You guys can see that there on the screen. And Emboldening Vapors, increased damage, and actually a new speed buff's been added, which is nice. So Plague Doctor's gotten a lot of love. On top of that, the camping skills have been adjusted. The Cure now removes a target disease, which helps you save a lot of money early game. Pro tip, bring a Plague Doctor with you and don't spend the money. We all talk about how valuable gold is early game. And lastly, let's talk about the Vestal. So the Vestal really hasn't had a lot of changes to her. It's really minute, but she's had a light restoration buff on all spells with the ability. So not really huge changes with her. Really, guys, the biggest changes have been done with Plague Doctor, the Man-at-Arms nerf, and the Jester. Grave Robber getting some love in there too. So that is everything. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully that was helpful, and hopefully that's a tight recap. Sorry it's over 10 minutes. I tried to keep it as short as I could. But Who and I are going to be partnering up on some videos, so check him out on stream. Throw him a follow. He's a big part of these videos and a big part of where I get a lot of my knowledge from. So check him out on Twitch. You can see the link there. I'll throw a link in the video description below for him. And let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll respond to you. Thanks, guys. See ya.